What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Tuesday. Flying solo as Sheets is flying actually in the air right now, I think. Sheets is flying and I'm flying solo. So good. Hope Sheets has a great trip. Reminder, he's going to be gone for a little bit, but he will be back. And we have me and Goldie. Goldie's projections are still up there and everything. We have all of the Saber Sim stuff. So we're still good to roll. I'm going to take us through this slate. We're going to do some builds. And please click the like button when you get on in here, all that stuff. And let's try and have a big night like Sheets did last night. He took down the monster on FanDuel, and hopefully we can have some repeat in his absence tonight. And who knows? He's probably got some good lineups on the plane. I played Lazard yesterday. It ended up being a really weird build, so I don't really want to talk about the football stuff. The basic, optimal, you had to basically leave 10K plus on the table. I was willing to leave 8 and 9, and that's what I was sort of settling on, those numbers. There's no reason that you couldn't have, things could have gone differently. And also the garbage time and touchdown to Lazard, I'm not really putting a lot of credit on that. But I thought we all thought Lazard was a great play. Sheets talked me into it. I was sold on it. I was in on it before when we thought McCaffrey was still in. Once he was out, it got to be very, very silly to try to leave 20K on the table, which some people were doing. And I just felt like it was getting to be a really weird build. So you could have probably just swapped McCaffrey and what's his name and been okay on the night. And that's probably what I should have done. But trying to optimize the play all I can. And it was not my football night. Anyway, we're talking about baseball only tonight. All right, let's get into it. It's a big slate, 11 gamer. You can see right here who I tagged as my core. We'll probably see a few of those along the way. I have Lopez and Arrighetti, nothing shocking there. I don't mind eating a little bit of chalk. I'm also getting a little different with some spots. So I just want to say sort of what my ownership is as of right now. I have Lopez the highest owned at 40%. I have Arrighetti at 32%. So I'm basically exactly with the field. I do have more Kirby at 20% and no, I'm sorry, 23%. So I am taking a little bit of a stab there. I really like the idea of getting a little wild with some of the other ones. Oh, Lively, I've got 24% of Lively right now. All right, so the other guys who I'm looking at, I have no problem on a slate like this taking a shot with Griffin Canning and Landon Roop. Look, we're not going to get the pitches from Roop that you want. Canning at least has it. I mean, we've seen the ceiling. We just saw it. You know what I mean? Why can't we have that again? I really think that this is getting a little bit overlooked. It's also not the A+ lineup of Minnesota. So I'm willing to take a shot on Canning. Having said that, I have plenty of Minnesota on the other side. So I am doing a little bit of both, but this is one of those slates where I think that you kind of have to do a little bit of that, or you should. I have 10% Peterson, so I'm above the field there. I've got 8% Imanaga, so a little bit above the field on that one, I guess. And then, as I mentioned, I do really like this taking a shot with, and you're not going to get, 12 might be good enough for Roop. And look, even if he gets 10 or 8, you still might be okay if you can play. I have a lineup with these two with Judge, with Judge Soto, Witt, and Ohtani, which I didn't even think was possible, but it is. Turns out it is. Anyway, so again, those are the guys I'm getting different with. I have 20% of Canning, so I'm willing to gamble. I have 10% of Bassett, 10% of Savali. That's pretty much the rest of my pitching. I have no Yu Darvish right now. I don't think I have one lineup with Yu Darvish in it. I am very, speculative that they'll let him go too deep. The problem is that might be good enough on this slate. So I might regret that one, but that is who's being left out right now. I also don't have any Cutter Crawford, another guy I could see getting there. I don't have any Rhett Lauder, and I'll get into that game when I talk about bats because I do like that Cincy game quite a bit for the bats. All right, so let's talk about what I'm doing as far as these go. I ended up with about, I'm sort of near the field on a lot of Cleveland players, but have no Cleveland fulls. I think I have one 4-man. I have a couple 3-men. Maybe I end up with one or so by the end of the day, but that's certainly not what I'm trying to do. So overall, the stacks that I'm the most exposed to are going to be St. Louis, the Cincinnati, the Yankees, and they're all pretty close. And I have less Houston than I did earlier because I don't like the lineup that they threw out there quite as much. And it's also a little bit of a tougher match. That's not even the lineup. It's more the Sears. I actually think Sears is a little better. So I ended up with a little less Houston, but still probably just a little bit above the field on Houston. So those are my main stacks. I do have some other ones that I just took some shots at: Toronto, Boston, and then a little bit of San Francisco. But the heavy lifting is going to have to be done by mostly that St. Louis Cincinnati game, the Yankees, and I do have some Dodgers as well. But St. Louis, Cincinnati, Yankees. That's sort of where I'm going with the most today. A little bit. I have a lot of Toronto 3-mans. It just how it worked out. I have a lot of A's mini stacks just because the way it worked out. I'm fine with it where I'm not playing Arrighetti, of course. And really trying to get overweight on the Cincinnati St. Louis game personally. I think there's a lot of stacks you could choose from though today because the Cleveland's the obvious one. They're chalky. The one way to get different is to play Manzardo. He's going to be lower owned than Naylor. That's one thing you could do if you did play that. Baltimore, I have some of. They're going to be overlooked. Boston, for some reason, getting overlooked here, and I don't really know why. I kept thinking their ownership would come out throughout the day, but it didn't, and I think it has a lot to do, I guess, somewhat with the pricing and the position. I don't know. It surprised me a little bit, to be honest with you. So I'm a little overweight the Boston because 10%-ish or so, maybe not full stacks, but of almost all the players. Minnesota obviously is the one that I'm pretty high on, but I don't love the lineup they threw out there either. So I actually tried to whittle them down a little bit, still above the field slightly, but not by much. And then I did forget to mention I have some Seattle stacks against Yu Darvish. And look, I think since this Seattle offense has a chance here, if Darvish just comes back and he was terrible his first time back. Why can't we just bet on that? Maybe he's just off, and they still are going to want him to get his pitches. I'll take a gamble on that at 1 or 2%. So that's why I ended up with a little bit of Seattle, and I ended up with a little bit of the Dodgers just for the simple fact that you're never going to see them this low owned, and when you do, you kind of want to take those chances. I mentioned my little spiel about San Francisco earlier as well. I think that they're an interesting, get completely different. Why are we doing this? But at the same time, why aren't we? If this game was in Milwaukee or somewhere else, wouldn't we be thinking about stacking against Savali on a slate like this? Probably. So that was the way I looked at it. Anyway, we're going to get into some builds. First person, and I'm going to guess it's going to be, let's see. I don't know what they're going to say. I'm going to guess it's going to be the lottery that you want to run a build for. But let me know what you guys want to run a build for. We can run it for the Immaculate Inning if you want to. That could be fun. Just let me know, and I'm going to unselect this and reset my settings. I did the Immaculate Inning one that I ran. I used it as a format of lineups, and then I whittled down, and I whittled. Honestly, most of that went out by the end of it. I actually have 10 more lineups I'm supposed to play on DraftKings, so we'll see what I do with that. All right. Any questions or thoughts? And then just jump on in and let us know what tournament you want to see us run a sim for. I also want to take a look. I don't think Sheets was able to update his most recent projections today, so I don't think we can rely on them because he's been gone. We can use Goldies though, and I'm just going to double check. I don't know when the last time this was updated. Does he have anybody? Let's just compare his to the field. So we'll bring this up here. You got my core over there. Usually I just have the core for the cut subs. This is my core today of individuals. Again, it's individuals. That's not necessarily stack related. And my core of obviously, just the pitching is I only put Arrighetti and Lopez because I feel like everyone else has big question marks. And honestly, I don't think that Arrighetti doesn't either. All right, who's the top team top few teams vying for which wild card? I think the best way to do that is just to look up the wild card standings. There's a bunch of teams that are 4, 5, 6 games out that technically they're in it, but everybody's trying to win still, if that's where the question is. I don't really see how that factors much into DFS personally. Maybe a shorter leash for some of the pitchers, but we're not quite there yet. There's still 13 games left. So teams even 5, 6 games out are going to play the same way that teams 2, 3 games out are going to play. They're going to try to win as best they can. Ball 4 says Corey Harris. Let's run the one for the ball 4. Okay. So we are going to, I thought I cleared everything, but I might have, thought I reset everything, but whatever. We'll go to the ball 4. We'll do that and see what it brings us. All right. Ball 4. Let me just double check something. Okay. Ball 4. Where are we at? This is the one part I wish I could memorize exactly what. Oh, there we go. Just right above how they were doing it. So we'll run over 10-5 builds. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Nobody's playing you can't play more than 4 anyway. So let's just run. Let's run 4 and see what kind of what we get in our pool size and everything like that. I did one thing today because I felt like it. I'm okay getting more and more of these 4-2-2s, 4-3-1s, 4-4s. So I actually took my correlation down a tiny bit. I also specifically really like Judge, Witt, and Ohtani tonight, partly because the ownership for Ohtani is lowest he'll probably have been since he faced Skeens. So I lowered my correlation a little bit tonight. I'm going to go back to the default, which was 10 on a slate like this. I understand why. So especially for a tournament like this, we can eat a little bit more chalk than we can in other tournaments, just because, 4 lineup max, not a huge field, reasonably high price buy-in, good players. It's okay to eat a little more chalk. I think you can make it. It's funny. I've always had this argument with, myself, the industry. I think you can make a case either way, that it's just better to be even way off the board. Because if you're getting like a 5% owned stack in that tournament, you're gonna win when they hit. If you're getting a 5% owned stack in the lottery where there's so many thousands of variations, it doesn't mean you're going to hit. Like, it's a very, very interesting, thought, depending on which slate. But in general, the rule is usually it's more okay to eat a little bit of chalk in the smaller buy-in, larger buy-in, smaller field tournaments, especially the 1 and 4 maxes, 3 maxes too. Okay, so we got the Casa Sim. Let's do the build. Sorry about all that, and we'll just rebuild the lineups from here. So who are we going to bet that they're going to say? I think they're going to either probably lock in Lopez, and I think that Arrighetti will be in half of them. That's my guess. Sorry, MJ, I'd love to help you out, but I can't do that right now. I mean, I'd be rattling off like 20 teams' names, and some of them people are going to argue and say, oh, well, they're not really in contention. They're not. It just matters how they're playing for DFS purposes. It really doesn't matter for other stuff. It doesn't, like, it's just we're not quite there yet. 5, 6, 7 games left, mathematical elimination. That's a whole different story. Any of those teams can do whatever, but they're probably still going to go out there and play pretty much the same way. It's a lot more important in basketball, that kind of stuff, than it is in baseball. It's really not in football. It's really not all that important in baseball, because people who play tend to play this. There's the rare game where you let everybody get in at bat, but it just doesn't happen that often. Maybe it'll happen at the very, very end of the year, last couple of days. All right, so let's see what we got. Tigers in the race. Yeah, are they in the race? See, that's the thing. Are we counting the Tigers as being in the race? I don't know if they're actually in the race at all. And it doesn't make any sense to me that they'd be as far back as they are and we'd still call them in the race. But Pete, they're going to treat it like it. They're going to play like it. So that's what we care about, for the DFS purposes anyway. All right, let's jump over to the pitchers. Let's see what we got and see what exposures we got. Let me pull my exposures back over. There's got to be a better way we can do this. Saying exposures this many times just feels unnatural, and I have to say it every day, but it is what it is. So that's very interesting to me. I have no idea what happened. We're going to run the sim, but before the sim, getting all different pitchers, that's really weird. I don't know if I've ever seen anything do that, to be honest with you. I have no idea why. Did I put a min exposure on it? Oh, that's what I did. Okay, let me get rid of this. That's my fault, guys. We're going to have to rebuild this whole thing, rebuild them all. I had to rebuild this. I had my exposure set from before, and I was like, why is this happening? But that was for, the massive max. They're only 3 games back of the wild card right now, the Tigers. Is that real, Brody? I thought they were like 7 games back. Let me double check this. Is that right? It's got to be right. Brody's not going to be wrong, but what happened? What did I miss here? And they haven't even been good lately. I didn't realize. So they're 3.5 back of the Twins, but the Twins are still out of the wild card, aren't they? Oh no, the Twins are the team. Okay, so that's pretty wild. That's closer than I thought. 3.5 games. That's definitely doable. Actually, it's 3.5. No, yeah, it's 3.5. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't even realize it was that close. That's pretty wild. Yeah, they're tied. They're tied with everybody for the 7th spot, unfortunately. But yeah, they definitely are alive. If they put together a nice 8-2 week or a 9-1 week, it could be interesting. Or not week, I should say. Set of games. That still surprises me. I think it's going to change when we do this. They have Roop, Kirby, Bassett, Darvish. So we're going to run the sim now without the min exposure. But that's without the min exposures, so it shouldn't. I'm a little surprised by that. And we'll do this once it's ready. In the meantime, I'm gonna have some water because I hate doing shows solo. I've done them so many years and stuff, but like I always felt like I was at my best when I either had a host or was a host. I just think it works so much better and comes across much better. But hey, we're gonna do our best. And some people are awesome at it. Like Brandon Sheets, they do it differently than I do, but I love the way they do those things. They're great. So there you can see it tightened up a little bit. half of them with Arrighetti, Roop, Savali, Bassett. And I'm shocked that no one is getting to Griffin Canning today. I really am. I understand that it sounds nuts, but like on this kind of a slate, like he literally could end up with one of the higher scores. Like I mean, look, that Minnesota's got some pop, but they also struggle sometimes. I mean, we've seen big games against Minnesota, and we've seen big games from against the Dodgers from Griffin Canning recently. I'm willing to gamble. Maybe my eyes told me too much there, but I'm not actually looking at that. All right, so there you go. That's what they're giving you right now. If we go to the stacks, let's see what they've come up with for the stacks. So we've got 50% KC. Again, a team I didn't get to, but certainly understand the reasoning. Stroman has been awful. It's Yankee Stadium, park upgrade for KC, et cetera, et cetera. Makes perfect sense. And it was actually in 23% of the pool, so it was actually coming through on even huge scale from 5,000 lineups. Same with Cleveland, St. Louis. Okay, I like that. I like the Minnesota. I like the Boston. And then that's pretty much all they have. It's only four things that we ran it for. Let's see the stack exposure types. I think this is always important or interesting to look at for this type of tournament. So they've got one of the four as a 4, but again, only 0.7% out of 5,000 lineups. So the other ones, let's see for pool exposure, what came up the most. 5s came up the most as usual. But then you get the 4 3s, 4 2s, 4 4s. I actually do like the 4 4s, 4 3s, especially in these types of tournaments. But it's because that's what everything else does the opposite. So I'm going to do something just a little bit different. And yeah, I'll get my 4 and 3 and then use Judge or Ohtani as a one-off. Why not? I like the Houston stack better than I did, Rody. The problem is that early in the day, we were planning on going against Bido, and they're facing Sears. And there's nothing wrong. Look, Sears is not someone we should be scared of attacking. But all of a sudden, their ownership projection, their ownership went up, and they're facing, in my opinion, a hitter that could give them more trouble. Now, I'll go to his BVP. It's probably horrible against them. Now, he's also gotten a little bit better. I think he's actually, and my true feeling about Sears is that he's actually like not a bad pitcher, not nearly in the same ballpark. People probably don't realize like his Sierra isn't all that bad this year. His ERA isn't that bad. He's 11-10 with a 4.3. He goes deep into games fairly often. Hasn't given up an overwhelming number of home runs outside of 3 games, which really are the bulk of the home runs that he gave up were in those 3 games. So, look, they've hit him okay. They faced him 122 plate appearances. They're hitting 270 off of him with 6 home runs. That's plenty good enough if you want to even use that sample size to try and use a reason to stack or not. But I happen to think Sears is better than Bido, so I was more on the stacking against Bido. I just think Sears has actual talent. Now, they could absolutely hammer him. We've got a lot of guys who historically have been good against lefties, including the lefties, who have always been good against lefties. But it's also enough of a lefty strong lineup where Sears can probably get through some of that. Now, maybe not. Maybe this is the night they hit all the home runs. Either way, I got plenty of it. I have 2 lineups on FanDuel right now, and one of them is a Houston stack. So I didn't take away everything. I just don't like them quite to the level that I did. I initially, they were my highest owned team. Now they're not so much. So I just thought it was interesting to look through the types you got here. Guys, feel free to answer any questions. Yeah, answer any questions. That you can do that too. But ask any questions you got. I'm going to double check and see if any other lineups came out. Dodgers lineup came out. I didn't see that. That was a few minutes back. That was actually right after I went on. Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Edmund, Pajes, Rojas, Muncy, Kike, Barnes. So if you were playing any Dodgers, you're going to want to adjust your lineups. And I think you could make a really strong case that Imanaga is a much better play now. To say this isn't the Dodger A+ lineup would be like saying, I don't know. It's the understatement of the century. Would be like saying that this debate tonight's going to make any sense. There you go. There's the analogy I was looking for. I actually wasn't thinking about the debate until then, but thought that was kind of funny. All right, so yeah, this Dodger lineup makes Imanaga an immensely better play if you were going to take a shot. Now it's still tough. You've got Betts, Freeman, Ohtani at the top. Literally 3 of the top 10 hitters in baseball. Yeah, you could say Freeman's numbers are down a little, whatever. You guys still ask any pitcher who they like to face, who the worst 3 to face in a row in all of baseball is, and they'll all tell you the Yankees have the top 2, and the Dodgers have the best 3 in a row by far. But Edmund batting cleanup, Pajes batting 5th, Rojas batting 6th, Muncy batting 7th against the lefty. He hits home runs. He also strikes out against them. Kike 8th, Barnes 9th. You have Barnes instead of Will Smith. You have no Teoscar. So you're missing some all-stars. Missing 2 out of the 5 on the offense of the all-stars. this would be a spot where you can certainly argue for Imanaga. Very, very strong. I also am probably going to keep at least one Dodger stack, full stack, and they're going to be much cheaper to get in if you wanted to do something creative like that. But it's probably too cute for this slate to have as a mainstay. I'll do it because I like to do it when they're low owned, no matter what. I'm always going to, like I always said, Sheets, I'm going to have 10% roughly of the Dodger stacks when they're going to be less than 5% owned as a stack. That's just, I'll probably have 10% every day just because it's usually a good idea to get exposure. And we've seen them beat up some of the best pitchers in baseball. So it could happen against Yamamoto's former teammate tonight. Anyway, so you see the individual hitters. Obviously, you're seeing as a result from when we ran. Let's see how many of my core snuck in there. Ooh, they all made it in except for Ellie and Jordan. Interesting. Love Ellie tonight, guys. The problem with Ellie is that the shortstop position, are you guys serious these days with the shortstop? I mean, it's crazy how good this position is. Look at who we've got to play here. I mean, these top three are phenomenal. And then you throw Lindor into the mix. Fantasy-wise, a little worse, but still unbelievable. Geez, it's good Corey Seager is not healthy and having the year that he did last year, because this would be like it's a brutal decision. Like for cash games, who the hell are you playing? I think Witt is the right answer, probably, like mathematically. I think Ellie is my answer for today, but I love Witt today too. So I have a ton of both of them, and I have that Gunner with my Baltimore stacks. You know, as I talk through everything outside of my take on St. Louis and Cincinnati and liking that game, I'm a tiny bit afraid that I might be a little bit too spread out. Yeah, I think I might be. They went. So I'm betting that this 5% is right on Ohtani, not the 11% from the early day. That's what I'm betting. And if you get Ohtani at 5%, we've played all year. How many times have we seen that? Anyway, does anybody want to run another build, or do you have any questions or thoughts? Happy to even make some jokes about football. I'm going to get out of here in like 5 to 8 minutes, and happy to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. In the meantime, we ran the build. I gave my thoughts. Saberson gave its thoughts. You know, we tried out a few things, but we can try some more. If anybody else out there has any takes, any other builds they want to see run, happy to do that. Well, we have a few extra minutes today. Also do want to remind you guys that I'll do some sort of a golf thing. Oh my God, I'm not looking forward to that because I'm very football focused these days, in case you haven't noticed. And then we'll do a football show tomorrow. We will also do a baseball show as usual. So it's going to be a busy morning of content, especially doing it solo. Anytime Rody has to jump in, I know he can, but he's got a crazy schedule these days, so I know he's busy. But I do think that for Thursday, Brandon might be doing the Showdown show with me, which I'm looking forward to. Love doing shows with Brandon about Showdown. Really, really thoughtful, great stuff. Everybody knows how good Brandon is at everything, but he just has a really clear, good way of communicating. And we come obviously at it from different perspectives, and it's always great to do a show with him. So I'm looking forward to the Thursday night Showdown with Brandon this week. Anyway, other than that, guys, I want to say thank you to all you guys. Please check out the packages we have available. We are literally charging with these promos. You know, we have all of the SaberSim stuff that you can actually get for the same price, basically. And it really is the same price. Like, and you know, I think we're a few dollars more, but with the discount, we're actually probably a little bit less at the time. So we have great packages out there, yearly and monthly. And we have a 10% off of the yearly, which is even bigger savings if you're going that route. And it's a huge, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on. We got a huge football season just getting started. We got basketball coming up, which I'm really excited for. I'm going to change a little bit this year and actually watch a little bit more game tape. It's always where my edge has been. And last year, I just had a lot of family stuff, didn't have as much time to do it. Tried my best, but was trying to incorporate that with the Sims and everything. And I think it just threw me off a little bit. Literally won everything the first week of the season, and then just sort of wobbled rather than you know, having the normal crushing season that I usually do for basketball. All right, guys, I think with that, it's, you know, we're running out of time here. Nobody's got anything else. So I am going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody very much. And yeah, check out what we've got out there. I think we've got some great deals out there. You know, you get all of my content, all of Brody's content, all of Goldie's projections, Sheets' projections. Brandon Cruz does all of his NASCAR stuff and Showdown stuff. Brandon Cruz has his own projection set for that as well. And all the SaberSim stuff. So I think there's a lot out there. Keep an eye out for Rody's playbook for NFL this week. Keep an eye out for my NFL stuff that we do. Me and Rody may try to do a show together in addition to the one I do tomorrow. We'll figure it out if we can. I think I'm going to try to make that work if any time works for Rody. So good luck, guys, and we'll see you in the Discord.